President Duterte is very clear, doon ng panahon yun, very clear si President Duterte of what he wants for the country. So ang nangyari doon, yung pressure from the United States under Obama, hindi naging evidence sa Pilipinas precisely because alam ni Digong kung ano ang pwede niyang tanggapin at pwede niyang pagbigyan sa Amerikano, sa US nung panahon ni Obama, at alam niya kung ano ang hindi dahil ito ay hindi nakakabuti sa Pilipinas. That's why maganda ang relasyon natin with America during Obama's time, but still there were also challenges, and one of the challenges that there was very evident is human rights, and also the second one is Duterte would want to have an independent foreign policy. He did not want to have more military assets in the Philippines from the Americans, and even he doesn't want military troops in the Americans. So doon nagkaroon ng challenge on both Edca, military, and also on the other hand is yung human rights. I'm not saying that na walang naging challenges. Of course, there will always be challenges between relationship of the Philippines with other countries, but pretty much during the Duterte time, it was more smooth sailing, wala tayong kaaway, we're quite okay in terms of foreign policy. So, mas ganun siya. And if you look at that, from Obama, naging Trump, and still the relationship of the two countries and every aspect was stable and was good because kasundo si Trump at Duterte. So, yun yung magandang dynamics din. If a Trump presidency, it's a very interesting dynamic how Marcos Jr. will deal with Trump because magkaiba ang personality nila.
Opo.
Sa akin dito, lalo na ito ay coverage ng US presidential elections that is, I think, starting now.
And Prof, siguro balikan lang natin dahil ang Pilipinas at Amerika ay may matagal ng relasyon talaga, no? Ilang dekada na rin yan. Sa nakikita mo naman, kasi magkaiba itong magkaiba ng pananaw, magkaiba yung polisiya ng pambato ng Democrat at ng Republican. Ano sa tingin mo ang magiging epekto nito sakaling manalo itong pambato ng Democrat at itong si Donald Trump, dating Pangulong Donald Trump?
Okay. Ang tingin ko kasi kapag halimbawa if Harris, the Democrat presidential candidate would win in the election today, I think when you talk about Philippine-US relations, kung anong impact ng potential Harris administration, I think what I can see is that Harris would continue the Biden's administration's, most of Biden's policy, especially when you talk about foreign policy. So anong ibig sabihin dito? Ibig sabihin, what we can see right now in the Philippines na very strong ang Philippine-US relation, but if you really look at the aspect kung saan malakas yan, it's on the defense and military side and security. So if Harris will win, Kamala will win, it means it will be strengthened or it will be continued in that regard. So yun yung isa sa mga possibility. And of course, the strengthening of the mutual defense treaty and the military alliance between the two countries. In the same manner that under Harris also, it's not only the Philippines. I think Harris, in terms of foreign policy, would strengthen relationship, especially defense and security with its allies, including the Philippines. So when you talk about policy, I think Harris would be very strong on human rights issues as well and promoting democracy in the world and across the globe, but most especially with American allies like the Philippines. So expected yan na mga issues like, for example, women's rights, reproductive health rights, and especially abortion rights for women, probably it will be pushed kasi yan ang kanyang mga campaign narratives na pinopromote when she was campaigning. And when you talk about economic naman, I think Harris administration would still continue to have that economic partnership, especially when you talk about technology, innovation, and probably on issues that has something to do with climate change, so green technology. Kasi yan naman ang nakikita natin under Biden administration na sinasabi nilang, we have this economic relationship. So I think pretty much Harris would just be continuing Biden's administration's foreign policy and even other policy that has something to do with economics and social and even people-to-people ties and all of these things. So that's what I can see. On the other hand, when you talk about Trump administration, I think Trump, to a greater extent, will have from that when you talk about defense and military and security. I think a second Trump administration will recalibrate these things, meaning that it will be transactional more. Like for example, ang mga military spending or military funding na binibigay sa Pilipinas, when you talk about Edca, preposition ng military assets, grant to the AFP and or to the Philippines when you talk about military, I think it will be there's a possibility ma-downgrade yan, ma-recalibrate yan, and there's a possibility as well for Trump to say na, if you want us to maintain military support and backing for the Philippines, especially when you talk about South China Sea issue, you also need to pay us. I mean, you have to pay something because transactional si Trump eh. If you really listen to his campaign promises and campaign narratives, he's even saying that when he assumed and even the Gaza conflict to Trump it's more about America first, American first. So if it's American first, everything revolves around what benefits America, what's the interest of America. And Trump is a businessman. As much as possible, when he spends money, he wants to get something out of it. So yun yung nakikita ko kay Trump when you talk about impact on US-Philippine relation. When you talk about economy, Trump has the tendency to be protectionist. Protectionist, ibig sabihin, poprotektahan niya yung market niya, poprotektahan niya yung industry niya, and at the end of the day, kung baga negotiation yan, it would always boil down that America benefits more than the other side. So in terms of economic policy, I would assume that he will be more protectionist in a sense that not necessarily only on the Philippines, but probably other countries like China, in a way that it will protect its own economy by imposing. When you talk about trade, it will probably, Trump will be imposing more tariff quotas. I'm not sure though on the Philippines, but I would assume that, it really depends on negotiations. So, I mean, the current administration of Marcos Jr. really has to know how to navigate these things. When you talk about human rights, I don't think so. But I think Trump, Trump knows the Philippines naman in that sense. But I think there would be a shift in terms of, ang pinakamalaking impact kasi dyan, pagdating sa Pilipinas is the shift of foreign policy ng US administration if a Trump presidency mas ganon siya.
Apo.
With reference to the Philippines. Yeah.
Opo. Prof, may tanong si partner Val mula sa Amerika bago kami ulit magtatanong sa iyo. Yes, Val?
Yes. At this moment, Professor, what do you think by the policy of Trump, America first, will this benefit U.S. in terms of peace in the Asia-Pacific region? Us.
I think so. For me, I'm a bit more positive that if a Trump presidency, if there's a Trump presidency and Trump will win, it's a win. It's a win for the world when you talk about security, military, and peace. Precisely because Trump, I don't think he would want to extend too much, the military capability of the United States into other countries. I don't think so. Kasi nga, sinasabi nga ni Trump lagi, when I assume the presidency, I want conflict to be de-escalated. So if ganun ang kanyang pronouncement, it means that he is not inclined into the security, rivalry, and competition with other major powers in the world, which is, I'm referring to China and Russia. I don't think that will happen. The way it is now, what is going on now, that there's real intense rivalry and competition security-wise between major superpowers like China, Russia, and the United States. I think that will be reduced to a greater extent, though I would not say it will be eliminated, because what I can see with Trump presidency, he will focus and he will emphasize more on economics and trade. So in that sense, I would presume that if Trump wins, trade war, well, he started the trade war with China. I think that will be the competition. And of course the world will be affected by that, but at least this is not about military. This is more about trade, and I think it's just a matter of how other countries like the Philippines would respond to it. It's really a matter of leadership also on our side.
That's right. All right.
How
Thank
the
you so
leaders
much,
of our country will
Professor.
be able to navigate this kind of shift. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor. And actually, I have another question. You mentioned about the protectionist policy of Trump. Will this affect the Philippines economically?
I think so. By the way, Val, earlier you said it will benefit. Would it benefit the United States? Of course, it will. I think it will. In many ways, because it's at the end of the day, he said like America first. So it's a very patriotic kind of mantra or slogan or philosophy. So in many ways, of course, the first beneficiary of Trump's philosophy, if it's America, but if it will negativity, especially when you talk about the BPOs, yeah,
Right.
the BPOs. If you look at isa sa pinakamalakas at na industry at the moment sa Pilipinas ang BPOs. But if you look at the BPOs, ang kliyente mo dyan is karamihan dyan is United States, mga Amerikano. So pag nagkaroon ng protectionist na policy si Trump, even focusing on that, he would want to bring back the job to the Americans. So that is a possibility. But of course, that is a possibility. We don't know. And again, I would emphasize, it really depends on how our country and our leader would know how to manage this kind of changes if a Trump presidency would be in power, and how to negotiate with a Trump presidency. So hindi naman yan automatic always. Ito ay mga possibility, but it's the way we deal with United States that matters. When a new president that has a different trajectory, that's a different policy as against the Biden administration, which basically if Harris wins, it would be little the same in that sense.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Anna. And yeah, that's all for my questions.
Prof, si Admar po ulit. Meron bang significant na kaibahan nung panahon po ni dating President Barack Obama and President Trump dito po sa Pilipinas? Alam natin na during Obama administration, naabutan pa yon na konti ni former President Duterte. Tapos the rest si President Trump na. Or dahil lang merong paninindigan itong si President Duterte, kaya kahit na magkaiba sila kung meron man, talagang nanaig pa rin yung independent foreign policy natin dito sa Pilipinas.
It doesn't have the answer to your question is combination of both, no. It's a combination. Like for example, when you talk about Obama, and if you really look at Obama's foreign policy approach to the Philippines, dalawa yan. Security, kasi dyan na umpisan yung Edca. Saan ba napirmahan ng Edca? Di ba? During the time of Obama, yung si Aquino pa, kasi umabot siya kay Aquino eh. So that was security, military and defense, strengthening of the alliance between the two countries, militarily speaking, and human rights. Yun yung very prominent na Obama policy towards the Philippines at that time. So ngayon, pagdating ni Digong, at naging inabutan niya si Obama was pushing alliance natin, pinupush niya ang mga military agreements natin, pinupush na ng pinupush. On the other hand, pinupush din ni Obama ang human rights issue, especially drug war. Ang nangyari lang noon, President Duterte is very clear, doon ng panahon yun, very clear si President Duterte of what he wants for the country. So ang nangyari doon, yung pressure from the United States under Obama, hindi naging naging evidence sa Pilipinas precisely because alam ni Digong kung ano ang pwede niyang tanggapin at pwede niyang pagbigyan sa Amerikano, sa US nung panahon ni Obama, at alam niya kung ano ang hindi dahil ito ay hindi nakakabuti sa Pilipinas. That's why maganda ang relasyon natin with America during Obama's time, but still there were also challenges, and one of the challenges that there was very evident is human rights, and also the second one is Duterte would want to have an independent foreign policy. He did not want to have more military assets in the Philippines from the Americans, and even he doesn't want military troops in the Americans. So doon nagkaroon ng challenge on both Edca, military, and also on the other hand is yung human rights. But still, even there was that challenges, na-maintain natin ang tinatawag nating independent foreign policy. We were still a friend of America, but our foreign policy during the Duterte times were diversified in many ways. Precisely, we have good relation with China, we had good relation with Russia, we had good relation with every other country in Asia Pacific and even beyond Asia Pacific. I'm not saying that na walang naging challenges. Of course, there will always be challenges between relationship of the Philippines with other countries, but pretty much during the Duterte time, it was more smooth sailing, wala tayong kaaway, we're quite okay in terms of foreign policy. So, mas ganun siya. And if you look at that, from Obama, naging Trump, and still the relationship of the two countries and every aspect was stable and was good because kasundo si Trump at Duterte. So, yun yung magandang dynamics din. If a Trump presidency, is a very interesting dynamic how Marcos Jr. will deal with Trump because magkaiba ang personality nila.
Opo. Prof, bago lang si partner Jason sa karagdagang mga tanong, kahit sino man ang manalo dito po sa halalan sa Estados Unidos, mananatili pa rin ang desisyon sa foreign policy natin sa mismong Pangulo. Kung itutuloy pa rin itong existing, no, kahit sino man, kay Trump man o kay Harris, kung itutuloy pa rin ng kasalukuyang administration ang kanyang foreign policy, kung ano yung nakita natin at resulta dito sa paunang almost 3 taon na administrasyon, magiging same pa rin yung magiging resulta sa last term niya.
Kay itong si Marcos Jr. administration.
Yes po. Opo.
Oo. Well, kasi I think if ang tingin ko naman kasi kay Marcos Jr. They're rooting for Harris to win. Kasi Harris would be continuing a Biden foreign policy and approach to the Philippines. So, tingin ko if a Harris administration wins, the very the US leaning foreign policy of the current administration of Marcos Jr. will continue. Yun yung tingin ko kasi yun nga sinasabi ko, a Harris presidency would also mean a continuation of most of Biden's policy, even a domestic wise sa US, sa loob ng United States, and even foreign policy wise. So pretty much, i-maintain ni Marcos Jr. ang kanyang foreign policy. But the challenge for him really is when a Trump presidency wins, or Trump wins, or a Trump presidency would come into power. So yun yung challenge ni Marcos Jr. Kasi ang problema is like this, yung tinatawag nating foreign policy, which is very much linked to the United States ni Marcos Jr., if you really look at that and dissect that, it's really more strong when you talk about defense, security, and military. Kasi nandyan nga, yung financing ng United States is nandyan lahat. At saka, ang ginagawa kasi ni Marcos Jr., he relies on the United States when it comes to our dispute in the South China Sea with China, and the backing of the United States under a Biden administration. But the problem with that is that may change. The way Trump will calibrate his foreign policy and approach to the Philippines. When you talk about the South China Sea and when you talk about military financing and support on military, when you talk about military support and defense to the Philippines, may change. and it may be downgraded. So ang tanong ngayon kay Marcos Jr. is, with that possibility, how would you recalibrate as well our foreign policy? Ang tanong din kay Marcos Jr. is, kay President Marcos Jr. is, if in any case that happens, do you really have the time to recalibrate? Yun eh. Yun ang challenge ng Marcos administration eh. If a Trump presidency would be in power. Kasi ganun talaga ang mangyayari. Now, ang tanong niya, would he maintain a very leaning foreign policy to the United States, or would he recalibrate and make it more balanced and independent, that he would now try to reconsider his relationship, the very challenging diplomatic and political relationship with China and Russia and other countries that are considered as quote-unquote adversaries of the United States. Doon sa tinatawag mong migrants sa Amerika, no, yung mga immigrants, especially yung illegal immigrants or illegal migrants. Kasi Trump, even before sa first presidency niya and even now, ang ano niya talaga, ang stand niya sa malakas ang kanyang stand against yung illegal migration or even migration for that matter. Kasi nga, ang naiisip ni Trump lagi is, it competes, no? Yung itong mga immigrants ay nagko-compete sila when you talk about resources, when you talk about job opportunities with Americans per se, especially the Caucasian ones, you know, the Americans really. So, ang tingin ko, if in any case Trump wins, ang magkakaroon niya ng impact kung si Trump talaga ay magiging strict sa kanyang immigration policy, domestically speaking. So, probably yung ating mga kababayan na Pilipino na hindi legal sa Amerika, which is yan ang isa sa mga totoo naman na maraming Pinoy na TNT or illegal sa Amerika, yung iba na hindi masyadong sa Amerika would be impacted, would be affected adversely. Kung push ni Trump ang strong immigration policy against this kind of, you know, status ng mga migrants sa Amerika. Even affected yan hindi lang Pilipino. Ibang mga lahi din maapektuhan. On the other hand, pero yung mga Filipino-Americans naman, I think na legal talaga sa Amerika and they've been in America for the longest time and may stable na job, I don't think they will be affected that much. Ang maapektuhan lang yan is yung mga medyo hindi ganun medyo questionable ang stay sa Amerika. I think, no? Yun yung tingin ko. Saka hindi naman din ang mga Filipino-Americans talaga ang natatarget ng tinatawag mong strong immigrant policy na against immigration ni Trump eh. It's more the border countries na mayroon ang mayroon ang Amerika. Kasi ang Amerika is border countries. Ang border country niya, isa sa mga countries na border niya is Mexico. So doon siya naka-focus eh. Kasi yung pagkukross ng border, na hindi, ayaw niya yan eh. Ayaw niya ng nakaka-cross ng border lang ng ganun-ganun kadali. Tapos nagkakaroon ng influx of immigrants in the United States. And of course, the United States has to handle that. Kasi hindi lang yan usapin na lalaki yung population mo, usapin din yan ng financing eh. Kasi syempre, kapag nasa country mo yan, they need to be responsible. Paano yung mga yan? Saan mo sila i-house? Of course, they would need jobs, they would need food and all of these things. So nagiging problema, I'm not saying na we should not be, I'm not saying that Americans are not human in kind of human rights because of this strong immigration policy against immigrants. But what I'm saying is, if you really look at the situation in a very pragmatic sense, no? Pragmatic, practical, kapag leader ka, may cost talaga yan doon sa host country. Mayroon talaga kasing humanitarian consideration. Doon kini-question si Trump.
Opo.
Actually, pagdating sa kanyang strong immigration against immigrants policy.
Opo. Prof?
Pero hindi ako nangangamba sa Filipino-Americans kasi illegal na yan eh.
Oo.
Yung mga illegal lang siguro ang maapektuhan dyan.
Pero pagdating naman po sa ekonomiya, meron po ba, recently lang, meron po ba tayong na-monitor na mga investments, yung mga bago yung investments from America dito sa Pilipinas? Kasi kung titignan natin, Prof, for example na lang yung Google company. Grabe na yung investment sa mga kapitbahay natin dito sa Southeast Asia. Sa ngayon po ba, may mga recent ba na mga investments na papasok dito sa Pilipinas mula sa Amerika? And ito bang anumang resulta dito sa US presidential elections, Prof, meron ba yang direktang impluensya o meron ba tayong aasahan sa Trump presidency o Harris presidency?
I am not aware I did, pero I don't know. Pero based dun sa mga nababasa ko so far, I'm not aware of any kind of huge, serious investment from the United States or businesses from the United States coming into the Philippines na seryoso talaga na pupunta talaga mag-i-implement ng ng kanilang business doon at papalawigin and all. Thus far wala akong alam or na-monitor as far as I'm concerned. I'm not sure if I am wrong. Probably I'm not aware of if mayroon. Pero ako, as far as I know, wala akong alam na pumasok. Like, for example, Microsoft or yung serious na malalaking industriya ba na papasok sa Pilipinas, mag-i-invest talaga. Kasi ang namomonitor ko, is yung mga malalaking kumpanya na pumupunta sa Vietnam, Malaysia, at Thailand from the United States. Mas sila ang nagbe-benefit ngayon eh. And even, they benefit from both sides eh, from China and the United States eh. So sa Pilipinas, hindi ko alam kung meron. As far as I know, kung seryoso at malaking industriya, wala akong alam na pumapasok at papasok sa Pilipinas. Probably meron pero maliliit siguro or mayroong mga... Kasi ang naalam ko at ang nakikita ko kasi when you talk about our relationship with the United States and the claim that it is ironclad and it's strong under a Biden administration, under a Marcos administration, most of the financing coming from the United States really is it goes to military spending at security. Mas ganon kasi tayo. Like upgrading of facilities na may kinalaman sa Edca, doon pumapasok ang pondo na galing sa Amerika eh. So, mas ganun siya. Kasi yun nga sinasabi ko, when you talk about relationship with the United States, why is it that we can ask them for financial investment or business investment in the country na seryoso? At yung malaki talagang mga kumpanya na they would be able to employ Filipinos in the country, not outside the country but inside the country. Pero so far, under a Marcos Jr. and a Biden administration, ang nakikita ko talaga, it's really more on security financing and military financing na pumapasok sa Pilipinas. Now, if you ask me what will happen under a Harris administration, as I've said, it's the foreign policy will security and military aid and probably support coming from the United States and strengthening of our alliance, military alliance, kapag si Harris ang nanalo. On Trump naman, that remains to be seen. Kasi ang alam ko talaga kay Trump, mag-recalibrate yan. Even when it comes to defense-wise and military spending-wise na binibigay sa Pilipinas, mag-recalibrate yan to the point na baka downgraded pa yan ang mangyari. When it comes to economics naman, kay Trump talaga na-mention niya ang Pilipinas. I'm not sure. Maybe Val can enlighten us if in any case, in the campaign period, Trump in any way was able to, when you talk about economic investment, financial investment, kasi so far from my monitoring, wala akong narinig na ganun eh. So I'm not really sure what will be Trump economic policy towards the Philippines. Ang alam ko lang, the downgrade recalibration, and in terms of economic policy ni Trump, the tendency to be protectionist is huge, to protect America. And for America, it boils down again to America first. So yun yung tingin ko. Man yan, Asia man yan, lahat gustong sumali sa Brics. At sinasabi mo nga sa akin kanina, totoo yun. Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Thailand, actually nag-signify na sila na magpapamembro sila sa Brics And probably in the next summit of BRICS, kasi katatapos lang ngayon, sa next summit, they will be recognized as official member of BRICS. Pero ngayon, nandun, hindi pa official member, but they are already there, they're already listed. And why are they into this BRICS? Itong mga karatig bansa natin na Southeast Asian. Precisely because BRICS is the members of BRICS, especially the expanded members, kasi may expansion eh. Kasama na dyan ang Ethiopia, I think, UAE, Saudi Arabia, I think, even yung mga oil-producing countries, malalaking oil-producing countries, partner ng BRICS. Expanded na ang membership niyan eh. So if you really look at BRICS with the expansion of the membership, at saka mayroon ka ng mga partners na tulad nitong 4 na Southeast Asian countries, these are the emerging economies. And when you talk about emerging economies, ito din ang mga strong economies na buong mundo. So ibig sabihin, malaki ang potential mo when you talk about economic benefits. Kasi unang-una, when you talk about market, ibig sabihin, saan ka pwedeng mag-export ng mga produkto mo, ang BRICS ang may pinakamalaking market sa buong mundo. Kasi sabi mo nga, India pa lang at China, i-combine mo ang population, i-combine mo ang geography nila, malaki na. Nandyan pa yung South Korea, South Africa, andyan ang Russia, andyan ang Brazil. And they are representing different continents. So, kung magiging membro ka niyan or maging partner ka man lang initially, you will benefit from the market. Aside from the market for your export, you can also benefit from the imports na pwede mong makuha sa mga countries na to na ngayon, they are having this move and push na magkaroon ng tinatawag mong de-dollarization. Ano yun? Ibig sabihin, these countries are now trying not to use dollars in their international trade or bilateral trade transaction. And they would accept certain currency na like yuan, like ruble, na or yung local currency nila na pwede ka mag-trade without using the dollar. So, ibig sabihin, mas mura yun. Kasi currency mo, tapos babayaran mo yung mga, yung ini-import mo from other countries using the dollar. So, ito, parang sinasabi na let's do away with the dollar, let's use our own currency or certain currency na mayroon yung BRICS. And one more thing, yung BRICS, mayroon na silang sariling bangko, yung New Development Bank. That's a BRICS bank that you can actually access loans for your infrastructure and if you need investment and capital, when you talk about infrastructure development of your country, and when you talk about technology and all of these things, pwede kang mangutang doon or pwede ka na walang strings attached na tulad ng IMF and World Bank na kapag nangutang ka, may binibigay silang structural policies na babaguhin nila ang structure ng ekonomiya mo na kung saan hindi naman nararapat, hindi angkop sa sarili mong ekonomiya or yung konteksto mo. So ito, ang BRICS, may sariling bangko na yan. And another note, hindi lang markets, hindi lang finances, hindi lang investment and capital ang pwede mong ma-source sa BRICS country. Another thing is what you call technology transfer. See, the more you interact with BRICS, the more technology transfer, technical know-how, you can access that to develop your economy, especially when you talk about the new buzzword in the world right now, green transition. Ano yung ibig sabihin ng green transition? Green technology, kasi mayroon kang issue ng climate change. Ito yung mga leading, ang China ang leading when you talk about green energy transition and green technology. Andyan ang India when you talk about information technology. Andyan ang Brazil when you talk about agriculture. Alam mo yon, ito yung mga countries that the Philippines can access if you're a member of BRICS. But the problem with the Philippines is America will not allow the Philippines to be part of BRICS. That's the problem. Why? Because we're an ally. We're a treaty ally of America. And America, at malaki yung hold at influence ng Amerika sa Pilipinas. And as long as America will have that strong influence on our foreign policy and even on our side as a country, especially under BBM's government, we will lose a lot of opportunities of not being a member of BRICS or even signifying to be part of BRICS. Hindi lang BRICS, even the Belt and Road Initiative, the Philippines is not a member to it. Kasi nag-withdraw ata tayo under Marcos Jr. administration precisely because of American influence. So, sayang. Sayang na sayang yung opportunity for us. Sayang kasi we should have a more balanced approach to our foreign policy. Because alam mo, isa pa ang magandang sitwasyon kung kasama ka sa BRICS, no? I would like, for example, the Philippines will be part of BRICS. Mayroon kang tinatawag na space to maneuver and leverage BRICS against other powers like the United States. Kasi may kakampi ka eh. Like for example, if United States will be imposing and pressuring you on something, you can say no. Why? Because you have the backing of the BRICS country. Hindi ka na dependent sa kanila na kapag walang Amerika, baka mag-collapse yung economy mo or whatsoever because you have BRICS country backing you up. Because the BRICS country are representing the voice of the Global South. And the Philippines is a developing economy. It's part of the Global South. So yun ang malaking opportunity in many, many ways na mawawala sa Pilipinas if we will not, in any case, apply or at least signify an interest to be part of BRICS. So yun sana maganda eh. Kaso, under a Marcos administration, tapos kung continue ang kanyang foreign policy, very much leaning to the United States, and America will have a huge influence on us. And America will not allow us to be part of BRICS that we can actually get. And we can expanded BRICS country. Take note, Admar, ang BRICS country din, ang membership niyan ay oil producing countries. So ibig sabihin, when you talk about oil and other energy products, mayroon kang leverage to negotiate na sana mura na lang or sana bibilhin namin yung produkto ng oil ninyo using our own currency, not the dollar anymore. Sayang eh. Isa yun sa pinakamalaking malaking advantage sana natin kung tayo magiging member ng BRICS kasi tayo na generate enough energy for our own consumption. So maganda sana kung magkakaroon tayo ng membership sa BRICS para ma-leverage natin ang oil-producing countries that are members of BRICS. Makakamura pa tayo at magkakaroon tayong magandang relationship, di ba? Magiging energy secure pa siguro tayo. Both green and traditional sources of energy.
Nakalimutan ko lang kung ano yung nasagot ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos nung tinanong itong BRICS nung panahon ng SMNI presidential debate. Siguro masisearch ko kung ano yung kanyang naging ano doon kasi doon sumikat din sa buong Pilipinas yung BRICS eh sa tanong ni Professor Clarita Carlos. Pero para sa kaalaman ng lahat, no, maliban doon sa Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, yung Southeast Asian countries na nababanggit natin, ito po, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam at Thailand. Ito yung mga siguro maliban sa kasabayan natin, minsan na nating naungusan itong mga bansang ito. Yet sila yung nanguna. Eh bakit sila napili nila na pagnanais na pumasok dito sa BRICS? Maliban pa rito, meron pang ibang mga bansa na nabanggit mo, Prof, na mga oil-producing countries din. Kasi yung unang nabanggit, yung Kazakhstan, kabilang din dyan. Algeria, Belarus, Bolivia, Cuba, Nigeria, Turkey, Uganda, at Uzbekistan. Sinasabi nga ng Malaysian Foreign Affairs Minister, merong 3.2 billion na population ang kabilang na sa iyong trade opportunities dito sa mga saklaw or sakop or kasama dito sa BRICS. Prof, ito yung natin, kumbaga market na kulang tayo. Nawawalan na nga tayo ng market. Wala na nga tayong market dito sa China doon sa ating mga, tawag nito, saging, durian at iba pang mga produkto. Yung nag-export, iba pang export natin na matrices, pinatawan pa tayo ng 5 beses na taas ng taripa. So, ito ngayon ang nawala sa atin. Pero naudlot ko, anong masasabi mo doon sa mga nabanggit natin ng mga bansa pa? Baka may maidagdag ka doon. Kasi ang sinabi pa dito, dagdag ko na lang nagre-representa daw itong mga miyembro ng nitong BRICS sa 28.5 trillion US dollars or 28% ng global economy. Malaki ito, Prof.
Yes, that's right. Malaki yan. Oo. Malaking-malaki yan compared sa G7.
Oh.
By the way, just to add, no,
Mm-mm.
ang iba pang countries na member ng BRICS ay Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates.
Ako.
So,
Yun yung
aside
ano,
from
mga
those
nauna.
na na-mention mo, sila yung mga nauna, sila na-recognize this 2024 summit sa Kazan. At sila yun. Look at the composition: Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates. Saudi Arabia alone, when you talk about oil, diba? Producing countries, diba? So, malaki ang ekonomiya at malaki talaga ang bintahe if a country would be part of BRICS. Kasi, para kang nasali sa isang pamilya na if in any case magkakaproblema ka sa country, the rest of the other members will try to help you out. Kasi ganun ang mantra ng BRICS eh. We develop together, win-win as BRICS is help each other. Dapat lahat ng gagawin nila as a group will be win-win. Ibig sabihin, lahat panalo. Hindi man the same ang maging revenue mo or take mo, pero lahat kayo panalo. Yun yung nila mantra eh. So ibig sabihin, if you're part of it, greater extent, panalo ka. Kasi hindi lang natutulungan ka, ibig sabihin, ang philosophy kasi na ini-embody ng BRICS is win-win partnership, win-win cooperation. So ganun siya eh. So I really hope na magkaroon ng recalibration ang Pilipinas, no? Hindi ko alam kung mangyayari yan during Marcos Jr. administration. Pero 6 years naman si Marcos dyan eh. Hindi naman, hopefully hindi siya forever. So if in any case a new leader will be in power in the Philippines, siguro naman magkaroon ng ganung vision, no? Na we should have a balanced foreign policy and we should not be dictated by any superpower kung ano ang gusto natin at kung saan tayo pwedeng sumali that would benefit the country. And one more, Admar, na may news pala na hindi ko alam kung alam mo na. When you talk about China, China is one of the biggest and the most important market in the world. Ang China market. Pagdating sa banana, ang China, ang number one na source of imports ng China when you talk about bananas is ang banana natin. Kasi ang banana natin so far as I know, is the best in the world, and even in Asia. Kaya nga masarap at maraming, ang banana natin, number one yan when you talk about export natin sa China. Alam mo ba kung ano nangyari? China is already importing banana from Laos. So, ibig sabihin, in a matter of time, bibitawan ng China ang importation niya ng banana sa Pilipinas. Nagda-diversify na siya, which is a very sad reality. Kasi ang banana natin, masarap, talagang very attractive yan ng mga Chinese, ang Philippine banana. Pero right now, siguro, it's precisely because our political relationship with China and our diplomatic relationship is not as good as the previous administration, nagda-diversify din ang China when you talk about its source of imports.
Opo.
Especially agricultural products. Kasi ang balita sa akin, Laos na daw. Sa Laos, nag-import na sila.
Tayo nga dito, pag nagkasobra-sobra yung mga ano natin, di ba? Mga gulay, tinatapon na lang, kamatis, patatas, itinatapon na lang. Baka ang susunod na itatapon ito, itong mga saging. Dapat meron ng alternatibo rin na gawin ang ating pamahalaan kung talagang wala na yung magandang relasyon natin na nag-export tayo ng saging dyan po sa China, no? At meron pa tayong isang report na tatanggapin at maya-maya Prof ay inayos lang natin yung ating sa kanila linya ng komunikasyon. Pero yun nga Prof, malaking sayang ito kasi maliban dyan sa saging, meron din tayong di ba? Durian, pinya, at ano lang ang Laos. Hindi naman sa pagmamasama pero
Durian,
di ba?
pinya, at saka mas better naman na tayo. I mean, hindi naman sa,
Oo nga.
I mean, you know, hindi naman ibig sinasabi na mas magaling tayo or that. Pero really, sa Southeast Asia, in terms of ranking, ang Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, nasa baba yan eh.
Mm.
Medyo mababa yan eh. Pero ngayon, nagde-develop kasi talaga sila na, I'm not kidding, kasi nagta-travel din ako sa mga bansang yan, nakikita ko talaga, they're really developing, ang infrastructure nila nag-improve, and also yung kanilang agricultural export and agricultural sector nag-improve talaga. Pero there's a common ground among these countries, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos. Kasi ang Vietnam medyo mataas na eh, wala na siya dun sa level nila eh. Ang common ground nila, ang common denominator nila, alam mo Admar, kung ano, China investment and China imports. China imports kasi malaki ang market ng China, so nag-export sila sa China. And when you talk about infrastructure investment, physical infrastructure like road, bridges, mga airports, mga building, even ang government nila, na mga offices. Oo. At saka even yung mga technology, internet, infrastructure, yung mga information technology infrastructure, it's really from China.
Oh, baka malay mo,
And even
Prof.
speed, kanina nabanggit, nakikinig ako kay Attorney Kay eh.
Prof, baka malay mo yung...
Yung by the way kanina kay Attorney Kay, sinasabi niya yung speed train at saka railway.
Malay mo yung bumili na ng mga saging or bibili na ng mga saging ang Estados Unidos na, Prof, kaya wala na tayo sa China. Sila na ang bibili ng ating mga saging. Pero meron lang tayong isang report na isisingit, Prof, mula pala dyan sa Houston, Texas. Mga ganap, huling kaganapan dyan ihahatid ni Noylan de Gracia. Noylan, magandang gabi mula dito sa Pilipinas.
Yes, kapartner Admar. Magandang umaga dito sa Houston, Texas at magandang gabi dyan sa Pilipinas. O Admar and Jason, kahit maaga pa dito, tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang pagdating ng mga tao. At nakausap din natin yung mga ibang botante, excited sila na suportahan ang kanilang mga kandidato. At Admar at Jason, sa ngayon wala pa tayong nakausap ng mga Filipino-American voters. Pero in-expect pa rin natin na dadami pa ang darating ng mga botante dito ngayon dahil nga ang panahon natin dito ngayon sa Texas ay maulan. So kaya in-expect pa natin na dadami pa ang pupunta ngayon dito sa polling station na to. At ngayon din, milyon-milyong Amerikano ang nagbabahagi ng parehong pag-asa para sa kanilang napiling kandidato kaya't hindi na sila makapaghihintay na gamitin ang kanilang karapatan na bumuto ngayon. Back to you, Admar and Jason.
Maraming salamat si Noylan de Gracia sa mga huling update dyan po sa Estados Unidos. Ganap na palang anong oras na dyan sa magtatanghali na ba? Dyan sa 10:17. Alas 10 na po ng umaga and dahil nga sa medyo pangit ng panahon kaya nga siguro wala pang lumalabas. Siguro mamaya kasi hanggang alas 6 pa yata doon sa USA time ang huling oras sa pagboto. Siguro Prof, bilang panghuli na lang sa ating mga kababayang nanonood, ano bang dapat na ikonsidera nila? At sa atin din dito sa Pilipinas ay palapit na rin yung ating eleksyon at baga meron kang mga mga tips para sa pagpili natin sa mga susunod na leader ng ating bansa na makakatulong talaga, yung parang kagaya kay Pastor na talagang merong pagmamahal sa bayan. Prof, pa-unmute lang.
Tama ka, Admar. Kasi malapit na rin yung midterm election natin. That would be May 2025. At klarado naman kung sino mga tumatakbo sa Senado. At syempre may local election kasama na dyan yung congressional congress, no? Yung members of congress. Ang siguro, ang ating mga kababayan, siguro mag-isip-isip tayo, no? We should have leaders in government na talagang may malasakit sa Pilipinas at sa Pilipino at may competence. Kailangan natin ng may competence at at mga leaders or elected official na may alam din kung ano ang nangyayari sa mundo at kung paano iaakma ang domestic policy natin sa nangyayari din sa mundo at paano yung pagbabalanse ng ating foreign policy. Kasi ang Pilipinas ay you're not an island, kumbaga. Ang lahat, kung anong nangyayari sa mundo, it impacts the Philippines. And kahit na ang Pilipinas hindi naman ganun kayaman at kaliit na bansa, ano din ang iyong foreign policy, kung hindi ka rin independent, hindi balanse, you may cause also negative impact sa buong mundo. Especially tulad ngayon, under a Marcos Jr. foreign policy na very leaning to the United States, nagkakaroon ng anxiety ang mga countries in Asia Pacific precisely because they're afraid that, we will be used as a proxy and what happens in Ukraine may happens to us. So may ganun din na mga anxiety ang ating mga counterparts in Asia Pacific na mga bansa. Pero yun nga, crucial nga ito ng US presidential election kasi everything will change in terms of how the United States will deal with us, depende kung sino ang mananalo. Pero siguro, ang ano ko lang sa Pilipinas, we should not have this problem. Kasi dapat, ang Pilipinas, sino mang manalo na sa eleksyon ng Amerika, dapat steady lang tayo Steady lang tayo, kaya natin. Hindi tayo apektado masyado. Hindi tayo nagkakaroon ng anxiousness kung sino ang mananalo sa Amerika. Dapat wala. Kumbaga, we're ready to deal with whoever. Kaso, under a Marcos Jr. administration, medyo may anxiousness, medyo may excitement. Kasi alam natin na may impact sa Pilipinas talaga. Kung Trump wins or if Harris wins. Pero mas ano pa ako doon sa Trump wins Kasi kapag si Trump ang nanalo, meron may mga shift, may mga changes yan, may mga shifts yan na would impact the country, may it be positively or negatively. Pero it's more about adverse impact siguro. But it's really on the security side. So ganun siya. At sana, ang ating mga kababayan, ngayon may time pa, malaki pa yung time natin kasi ano pala ngayon November, December, January, February, March, April. We have 6 months before the midterm election. So we have 6 months to para i-scrutinize mo sino ba ang mga tumatakbo dyan. Ano ba ang kanilang track record? Mayroon ba silang competence? May level of education ba diyan? Naniniwala kasi ako sa edukasyon na it really molds the mind of a person kung may proper education ka. May impact yan sa pag-iisip ng tao So, at saka yung sincerity to serve the country, dapat lahat yun nandun at competence talaga. So sana naman, bigyan natin ng importansya ang eleksyon ng Pilipinas. Hindi siya dapat maging bara-bara, hindi siya dapat na, okay, ito siya kasi malaki ang binigay sa akin. So, kasi may ganun dynamic sa Pilipinas may ganun talaga. So, I really hope that this time, Filipinos will wake up. Na, you put people in position kung sino talaga ang nararapat. At, you should have your own criteria of choosing based on what you think is, criteria na malinaw. Hindi yung tipong kung sino yung malaking binigay, yun ang boboto mo. Mahirap yun. So may 6 months tayo to scrutinize the candidates that we have for midterm election. Sana gamitin natin yung span of time na yan to choose the right people in position.
Opo.
At, kanina, yung vision ni Pastor pala kanina, naririnig ko si Attorney Kay, that's really I agree with the vision. At I agree na yung infrastructure is really good. Kasi iyan ang kailangan ng Pilipinas talaga. At saka yung tinatawag kanina ni Attorney Kay na bullet trains and railway, it's important. Kasi sa Southeast Asia, by the way, tayo na lang ang wala. Wala nga tayong subway. Indonesia already have a bullet train. Laos, they do. Thailand is upcoming. Mayroon na ang Thailand. May mga negotiation na even Malaysia is negotiating already with China on that. So parang nahuhuli ang Pilipinas na dapat hindi. Ang bullet train, ang railway is a very important transportation mechanism or vehicle that will connect the whole Philippines. And it's very, very important na makonect ang Pilipinas kasi island tayo that would really benefit the country economically, especially when you talk about transfer of goods and services and people. So that's even just one. Marami pa yan. So thank you again.